Hey, this is Tommy Sunshine, Brooklyn Fire, New York City. You're listening to Release with Reelax.
The number you have reached has been disconnected. The new number is...
The phone booth.
Okay, here we go in the phone booth. It's a great pleasure, and we are very fortunate to have the man fresh off the plane from Amsterdam back in the US of A. We're talking to Mr. Tommy Sunshine. How are you?
I'm good, you?
Yeah, great to have you here. As I said, we know it's quite a fresh step off the plane for you, literally only a couple of hours or something off the plane from what is one of the highlights on the electronic music calendar for the ADE conference that just took place last week. So, mate, we appreciate the time, and I guess first questions first, how was it for you?
It was unbelievable. I mean, this business is booming, and I had so many wonderful meetings with so many great songwriters and top-line people and other producers, and there are so many collaborations in the works that I don't even think if you held a gun to my head I could remember half of them because it was such a busy week. I mean, it was really tremendous, and while I was there, I did sessions with both Chocolate Puma and Glow in the Dark. So it's been outrageous. Took a good meeting and signed a record to Protocol, Nicky Romero's label, and it's just been, I mean, wow, what a week. I mean, I can't imagine it going any longer than it did, because if any more like wonderful things happened, I think it would have been too much to handle.
Of course, those are maybe not fully familiar with the ADE conference. It is that one time in the year when it just seems about just every person involved in electronic music converges together in good old Amsterdam, and it is that great time for so many face-to-face meetings with people perhaps you've been talking online with, or you've been aware of, or chance to catch up with, perhaps in your instance, old friends that have been touring around the world at the same time. So it really is quite a special time, and it seems quite a fruitful time for many.
Yep.
Now, a part of that was your involvement was you were doing some moderation on some panels there too, which is always an exciting part of these conferences, and when some great artists get up and show some insight to various sides of things. And I believe you had the privilege of moderating some of the greats. I am talking about Giorgio Moroder, Nile Rodgers, Greg Wilson, Tiesto, all involved in there.
I was on an artist panel with Joris Vorn and Danny Tenaglia and Christian Varela. Like, I mean, it went on and on and on. I mean, how crazy is it that, like, when you ask me what the highlights are, and I don't mention Nile Rodgers and Giorgio Moroder, like, off the top of my head. Not that they weren't highlights, but how many highlights can there be? I mean, it was really intense, and getting to meet them and speak with them and lead a conversation with such legendary people was, I mean, by far one of the greatest moments of my life. I have so much endless respect for both Moroder and Nile, and it was just so incredible to not only speak to them, but to speak to them about, working with them in the upcoming year. So, I mean, that's where it really takes on a whole other level, because, meeting someone, shaking their hand and telling them they're great is one thing, but then to actually have a conversation with them and to make plans for production, that's quite something else. It was really amazing.
Absolutely. We are talking to Tommy Sunshine in the phone booth on Release right now. As you said, fresh off the plane, we're getting the fresh Amsterdam wrap-up from the man himself, who was quite heavily involved. He said so many highlights going on for this year. We look forward to seeing the fruition of those. Tommy, I guess that you talk about the conversations and the moderation that you were involved in, and I guess that would be fair to say that leads from you being quite a well-known commentator on the electronic scene as a whole. You're quite very well versed on Twitter and in many other forums, which is a fantastic thing, sort of highlighting, I guess, from your background and experience, because you've been around and sort of seen quite a variety of scenes. I think one of the great things for you is that your touch and reach on music has been from, I guess, things such as deep techno to your rock sort of involvement, and then now, of course, the massive EDM explosion that's happening across America and around the globe. So you're quite well in a good position, rather, to commentate on these such occurrences. And one, of course, recently has been the USA and its focus and the tragedy that happened with the recent deaths. And you're quite involved with some sort of perspective on the EDM's world, if you will, on what was going on with Molly and dance music as well. Do you want to tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I mean, this past week I appeared on the Katie Couric show, and she's like quite a big journalist here, and television personality. She used to be on the Today Show, and now she has her own show, which is like an afternoon show for like middle American housewives. And I went on as kind of the voice of dance music to speak about this. And basically I said, what everyone's forgetting in all of this hysteria is that this is a music culture. And, the majority of the people that go to these events are responsible adults who are there to dance. And, who really do love this this music above all things. And, not a lot of people are kind of bringing that up. Everyone's just talking about all of this, it's hysteria. It's nothing short of panic. And, it was just nice to be able to put it in a more reasonable, calm, and collected perspective. And, I think it's very funny because you put someone like myself in the hot seat about that, and I don't look like a typical dance music producer or even a dance music fan for that matter. And I think it throws people for a loop, but I do think that once I open my mouth and people realize that I am articulate and I have a lot to say, that it kind of quells the fears a little bit, and that was the intention of doing the show.
Absolutely. I mean, and it would have been quite a foreign, environment for them at all to be breaching into, as you said, outside the hysteria that they see or the headlines, to be brought into that world. So I guess people want to find more about that. They can certainly search online. I'm sure that will be up there to find further about that interview and your response to the criticism that's going on, that is sort of the backlash that is happening. And of course, these tragic events, not only isolated to America, but happen around the world and happen in all sorts of industries. So I guess that's the thing that also needs to be put into perspective as well. We're talking to Tommy Sunshine in the phone booth on Release. It's a great pleasure to have the man in. He is a bit of a good friend of ours on Release and Australia, and we've got you coming back down under. You quick stop off home, and then you're back down under to do the Great Stereosonics Festival around the country in the end of this month and next month.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, it's really going to be, this will be the 9th tour of Australia for me in 8 years. So it's been I've had an unbelievable run there, and it just keeps getting better. And coming there to play the hard stage at Stereo is going to be really great. And, I'm doing a lot of things for the music conference, in the middle there in the week in Sydney, and moderating a bunch of panels, and going to be kind of a key figure in the inner workings of that as well. And it's really exciting. And the one thing I'm most excited about coming back, it's been over a year, and when I was there last, I was very lucky. There's a guy in Melbourne who I was making music with and hanging out in the studio, Rob Pix, and he turned me on to the whole Melbourne sound when I was there. I had never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. And he gave me a USB full of all of Joel Fletcher and Reese Lowe and orchestrated music, and it, flipped my lid. And obviously it's flipped the whole world's lid in the last, year. And it's one of the panels that I put together for I'm forgetting the
EMC conference, I believe it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. You can edit this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, great. Well, one of the panels that I put together for EMC is all the Melbourne guys with TJR to talk about how there's this. Not only has he influenced them, but they've influenced him. So there's this real amazing back and forth that's going on, not only with TJR, but also with guys like Dioro and, and who I'm now collaborating with. And it's really kind of running deep at this point. But I'm really into that music, and I've been repping it pretty hard around the world. And I'm getting ready to release a compilation early next year on my label, Brooklyn Fire, of a lot of the underground and not so well-known Melbourne kids. And I'm really excited about it because
the number you have reached has
there's
been
a new direction of it, and it's going in a
is
much more spaced out, much more like druggy kind of feel. And I'm really into it, and I think it's really great. It's proper dance music, and really fearless. and really new. It feels very exciting, and with so many of the genres right now feeling kind of samey, it's really nice to have like what feels like a tidal wave of a new sound. And I know it might be hard for Australia to see it that way because they've been around that music for the last almost decade as it's turned into a thing. But it really is influencing the rest of the world, and everyone should be really proud of that.
That's some great words. We're talking to Tommy Sunshine in the phone booth on release. As you said, he was coming down to Australia. He will be part of the EMC conference and Stereosonic Festival. So make sure you check your gig guides or dates to find out exactly where you can catch the man. We look forward certainly to that panel. It is great. I kind of guess you answered a bit of my next question in that I was going to ask. Yeah, a lot of people are very, as we know in this industry, are very narrow-minded about their musical tastes, or you can only like techno. That's it. You can't be possibly aware of other sounds or interested in other sounds. You're a man that's sort of been able to span across so many genres and different sounds. From some that people would call more credible than others. I mean, I guess there's been a bit of a backlash on this Melbourne bounce sound, certainly outside, but it's great to see people such as yourself that are sort of highlighting the pros of this sound and really valuing it and sort of and taking it further, as you said, to the world. I guess, do you, in your mind, is there any difference from, say, some of the stuff you've done and worked with great names such as international DJ Gigolo, DJ Hell, James Murphy, these sort of guys, and now the Melbourne sound guys? Like I said, many people put them in totally different boxes, but you're certainly happy to put the Tommy Sunshine umbrella over both.
I mean, I'm excited to always participate in new scenes and forge ahead with new sounds and watch those sounds then influence like not only the rest of dance music but then pop music and everything else. And I mean, it was hilarious. I met with some of the Australian labels at ADE, and they were saying that like the Melbourne thing had peaked and that like it already had its moment. And that's very funny to me because a month ago I saw Will Sparks smash the shit out of Pasha here in New York. And here's this kid who's 20 years old, like barreling through New York City and just completely left Pasha in ruins. That music is brand new to everybody in New York City. No one knows that music. No one's ever heard that music in New York. So yes, it may have run its course there, but there is an entire global ride ahead for the whole lot of those guys, and it's going to keep going and going and going, and it's tremendous. And it's I love when things take these weird turns, and I'm always down to jump in the back of the truck and see where it leads. You know what I mean? Like I've just never been afraid to try new things and really kind of put my neck out to try to make these new things stick. And
I also think, you also, I think you don't. It's important that you're not turning your back on other sounds as well. As just because you're into a new sound, I guess a lot of people think that's it. You've turned away from other sounds, but I guess it's a bit of an encompassment of all of those sounds, really. To the next level.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm at a phase in my career where I can tour around America, play the main stage at Ultra, play at EDC in Vegas, and then in the summertime go play European festivals and play on the terrace at Space.
Yeah.
And I'm most certainly not playing EDM at Space. You know what I mean? Like I'm playing acid and rolling techno. You know what I mean? So to be able to do that and to be able to have that kind of spectrum is very rare, and I'm very lucky to have it, and I'm very gracious to have a career like that. But that's how I've tainted this since the beginning. I've always wanted that freedom, and I've never gone and said, I'm a techno guy and I'm gonna take techno to the grave with me. You know what I mean? Like I just never understood that, because when you do that, you're missing out on so many great new things that are happening in other forms of music, and it's a shame when you alienate and polarize yourself like that.
No, firm words, we believe, right here on Release. Tommy, it's great to talk to you. We are talking to Tommy Sunshine in the phone booth. We could absolutely talk for ages, but we know You're fresh off the plane. We'll let you get going and settle back into your groove. We are looking forward to you coming back down under to Australia, and I'm sure we'll have many more words, and we'll get you back in the phone booth for a bit of a chat then. Tommy, before we go though, we'd like to ask, is there something we can get you to play on the show for us?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had a real good run this past year, and I think one of the things I'm most proud of is the remix that I did of Capital City's "Safe and Sound," and if you haven't heard that, you're about to.
Here it is, as picked by the man himself, Tommy Sunshine, for you on release.
For more, head to djrelax.com.